Hello, y'all. I'm just coming on here tonight to tell you, in case some of y'all were wondering, why I've had a lot more videos uploaded in the last few weeks. The reason is because I had some extra time off from work due to the holidays, and being the end of the month, they're very slow at the end of the month, so they end up cutting hours back. And since I'm the last one hired, my hours are usually the ones that cut. So this won't be a normal uploading routine for me. After the first of the year, I will get back to my normal time frame because I won't have as many hours free as I do now. I've just had a lot of extra days off from work, and that's what I wanted to do. So on to the video, and thanks for coming on here. Bye, y'all. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here tonight, and I'm extremely happy that you came back to visit me again on my channel. Um, I don't have very much to tell you about tonight, so this may be a short video. I was thinking back to my childhood growing up earlier, and I got to thinking about when we used to come from California to Missouri and stay with my grandparents at their house, and they always lived in a house out in the country until they got up in age to where it was harder for them to get into town, and then they actually did move to the city. But as I was growing up as a child, the only places that I ever remember them living was out in the country. Um, on one house they lived in didn't even have an indoor toilet. They had the outhouse that you had to go potty in, and I don't think they even had a bathtub inside. I think there was a shower in back in one bedroom that they had installed after they moved in there. I don't think they had plumbing. I know they had running water in there, but we used to take, the reason I know there wasn't a bathtub in there, we used to take baths in a galvanized horse trough out in the backyard in the summer. I think in the winter times when we were there, they would just take a rag and, give us like a sponge bath and stuff like that. And my grandma always had chickens. They had an old uh, um, bloodhound dog, a hunting dog. I guess my grandpa used to hunt rabbits and squirrels when he was younger. I still remember the dog's name was Sad Sack. I think they might have had some beagles at one time too. They had some kitty cats, but mostly they had chickens, and the chickens were pretty much free range. Now they did have them in an enclosed pen where chicken wire around it, but it was a pretty big uh, enclosure, so where the chickens could actually have free range. They weren't actually cooped up real tight in there. They had a little coop that they could go in at night that had a nesting box in it where they would go in and lay their eggs. And the outhouse was actually on the back side of the chicken coop. There was a little shed over here with a tin roof. Then there was the dog pen. Then there was the chicken coop, and then there was the toilet, the outhouse. And I remember when we would stay there in the summer, we got to go with my grandma out to the hen house to get the eggs. That was exciting to me. I loved doing that, going out with her and looking in the nest and finding the eggs in there. And sometimes we would go out and there'd be an old hen sitting in the nest, and grandma would have to lift it up and reach under her to get the eggs. Sometimes she wouldn't get them out. Sometimes she would just leave them in there and let the hen sit on them for a while. There was always little baby chicks hatching out. They just had all different kinds of chickens there. I guess basically the egg was probably one of their main staples that they had to eat. From they did have a vegetable garden, so they had lettuce and tomatoes and okra, corn, stuff like that. And I'm sure that at a certain period of time when the chickens got old enough to not produce eggs, they ended up in the pot making chicken and dumplings. There was probably some roosters out there. I don't remember a whole lot of roosters, but I know there had to be roosters out there because they had some eggs hatched and they had little baby chickens. But anyway, me as a kid, I always loved animals. I loved being around animals, petting animals, touching them. And I always loved to pick up the little kittens there at my grandma's house, hold them and pet them and everything. And so I wanted to do the same thing with the chickens. I wanted to hold a chicken, pet the chicken. So I would get out in the yard and I would chase the chickens to try to catch them. Of course, they're really fast, very difficult to catch. I don't think I ever caught one chicken, but I would still get out there and chase the chickens. Well, I presumed that my grandma was looking out the window and seeing me chasing after her chickens, because she would always scold me, "Vicky, stop chasing those chickens." So I would try to wait till she wasn't in the kitchen doing the dishes and stuff so that I could chase the chickens. So I might have a chance on catching one of the chickens. I'd run them around chasing them. I never did catch any, but I still chased them. And then one time she asked me, the reason I'm looking over there, my dog, you probably hear in my videos that tap, tap, tapping. That's my dog running around. Every time I get to talk, and she thinks I'm talking to her, I guess, so she gets active and she starts running around. She's over here right now distracting me. But anyway, I think I waited one time till my grandmother wasn't in the kitchen doing dishes to chase the chickens, trying real hard to catch them, and I never did catch any. Well, later on, we went in that afternoon, and my grandma was like, "Vicky, you still out there chasing them chickens, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, I haven't been chasing the chickens." "Yeah, you have. You've been chasing my chickens." "No, Grandma, I was not chasing the chickens. You told me not to chase the chickens. I wasn't chasing them." And I'm wondering in my mind, how is she knowing that I'm chasing the chickens? Is she psychic? What's going on? How does my grandma know that I'm chasing her chickens? Because I was trying to be sneaky about it, and chasing when she was up in the living room or in the bedroom putting covers on the bed or whatever, but she still knew that I was chasing the chickens. "Vicky, you're chasing them chickens. I told you to leave them alone. Stop chasing them." So finally, the curiosity got the best of me, and I just asked her, I said, "How do you know that I'm chasing them chickens, Grandma? Because I'm not chasing them." She said, "Vicky, Lynn, you're lying to me. You've been chasing the chickens, and the reason I know, their eggs are bloody." I had no idea. I mean, all this time that I was chasing the chickens, and she was telling me not to chase them, and I was telling her I didn't, she knew because they were having bloody eggs. She's like, "You need to stop chasing them because you're bloodying the eggs, and when you do that, we can't eat them." So after that, I think I kind of did lay low on chasing the chickens, because I like to have eggs in the morning with toast and biscuits and gravy, so I don't want to chase the chickens. I wasn't catching them anyway, so how much fun could it be? I wasn't able to catch them. I still remember at night when we used to have to get up and go to the bathroom, though, that all the chickens would be in there on those coops. And we had to walk by the chicken coop to get to the outhouse. And it used to scare me to have to go to the outhouse. Now, this was in the early part of the morning when we had just, the early part of the evening when we had just got into bed. It wasn't maybe like twilight, a little bit dark. But I still didn't like going out in the dark. So I got brave. One night I went out there, and the chickens had already went to roost, and I thought, I'm going to have myself a little fun. So I went in there with a stick, and I knocked every one of the chickens down off the roost, down on the ground. Well, chickens can't see very good anyway, I don't think, and I think they especially can't see very good at night in the dark. So when I knocked them off the roost, they had been asleep, and it was totally confusing to them. They had no idea where they were at. I guess they were kind of walking around. I kind of scooted out, chased a few of them, and chased them outside in the chicken yard. They did not have any idea where to go or nothing. And I think a lot of them probably didn't end up getting back to the roost. They found a place out in the yard, just lay down out there and went to sleep because they couldn't find their way back in the chicken coop to get back up on the roost. Anyway, I had a lot of fun growing up with my grandma and stuff. Like I said, we used to take a bath in the old galvanized horse trough. They'd heat the water up and put it in there. Sometimes we used it as a swimming pool. We got in there and splashed around and done all that. And I can still remember this too. One time was the first time we had lived out in California for a lot of summers and stuff, and we didn't really go to Missouri that much in the wintertime until we actually moved out there. We took vacations, it was in the summertime. But then there was times when we come to Missouri and we moved out there after a while. And I was really young when this happened. And we went to my grandma's house during the winter. And we had our first snow that winter in Missouri. And I had never seen snow before in my life, had never touched it or had anything to do with it. And it was all over the car out in the yard. And I remember my daddy taking me out there and saying, kids, come on outside and look, there's snow. There's snow out there. And I went outside and I looked at this white dusty stuff on the car and I touched it. And I don't know why this was my reaction, but I touched it and I pulled my hand back and I said, ooh, it's cold. And my dad's like, yeah, it's snow. What did you expect it to be? I'm like, well, I don't know, but I didn't realize that it was going to be cold. I guess I thought it would just feel like flour or sugar or something. But to this day, I can still remember that because he laughed. He thought it was so funny. It's like, well, what did you expect it to be? So anyhow, that was my first reaction to seeing snow. And I've gotten over that since then. Now I know when it snows, it's going to be cold, especially in the wintertime. I just want to thank you guys for coming back tonight and visiting with me. I got a different backdrop back. I'm trying this area of my living room again. Trying to figure out different ways to do the videos, and I hope that this lighting works out. This right here will be a good arrangement for me. The bathroom was okay, but it was kind of narrow and tight to get in there. And the shower curtain, I couldn't change it. So it was always the same shower curtain. But this right back here, I can actually change that out with a sheet and a blanket and stuff so I can have a different backdrop. So I thank you so much for coming and visiting with me tonight and listening to my little chicken chasing story. And come back and see me again. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.